Hi, everyone, and welcome to Bloomstream Entertainment Network with Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. My name's Matt Buto. To my left is Brent Coble. This is Season 4, Episode 3, Division 3 edition. We have some good conversation with coaches and good conversation with us, and of course with you, Brent. In regards to Division 3, let's get right at it. Let's get into the girls' standings. Let's talk about Division 3 basketball. Any thoughts as we go along here?
Yeah, Division three girls is usually very good basketball. The last few years, for the last 100 years, I guess, that named Conan at the top of the standings. They have had a program there that has gone, it's got to be 3 to 4 decades now. They can continue to produce good girls basketball players there. And in Stevens, which is not far down the road from Conan, and Guilford. Guilford's had some lean years, but for the most part, they've been at the top for a while as well. And for our North Country teams, you're looking at Berlin and White Mountains. I believe, have a couple wins. Actually, Berlin's at 3-5. White Mountains is at 2-5. So they're struggling a little bit. I think both of their teams are struggling to score. I've seen both of them play. But, two good coaches with Don Picard over there in Berlin, former boys coach, won a state championship with the boys. Really enjoy getting to talk with Don. I'm not in Division 4 anymore, so I don't get to see him as often, but really like talking with him. He's a vast knowledge encyclopedia of basketball. And his assistant coach, Peter Pear, another fun guy. Like those guys a lot. Looking at the standings, the Conants of the world, you got to go through Conant in the girls division.
When you have conversations with Chris Voss, especially Don Picard, Pete Perry, there's a lot of basketball, a lot of knowledge, a lot of good coaching. It must be frustrating as a coach, I don't know if they're rebuilding years or restocking or whatever it might be. The ultimate goal is to win a championship, but you want to give yourself an opportunity to get in the playoffs, create another season. Is that how that works? I mean, you're always thinking championship, but for this season, I think we just want to make it into the playoffs and see what can happen.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ultimate goal in the back of your head is championships, but you have to build, and you have to, just like building anything else, it takes a while to get to the top, and putting the roof on it all. There's going to be some seasons where going in what you have and what you don't have, and you're going to struggle with some teams and you're not with others. But the ultimate goal is to sneak into the playoffs somehow, and surprise some teams and play really hard. Obviously, you want to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season. We've had a lot of early shows on Sports Talk where teams are struggling a little bit. That's okay early in the season. Again, some of those losses may hurt you playoff-wise, whether you're home or away. But again, you want to get in, and that's the second season, and you only got to win 4 in a row. Really, it's a 4-game sprint, or sprint along with the full season marathon. But the playoffs is 4 games. If you can get on a roll, it doesn't matter if you go in as the 15 seed. Sometimes you get on that roll and you can't be stopped.
And it seems to be for the boys Division 3. You often see Guilford at the top. Very strong teams year after year. Soccer team, I believe the soccer girls team and boys team both won the state championship. Developing good athletes. Jesse Arsenault from Berlin, and Eli, the coach for White Mountains, Eli Vincent from White Mountains Regional. Different teams, different players, lost some players, gained some players. What do you think?
It's my first thought on, a couple of those names you mentioned. It's really nice to see younger guys or, younger people, not even just guys, but younger people getting into the coaching profession. It's a lost art. People don't want to do it, as well as officiating. They've always called officiating and coaching the good old boys club. Well, those old boys get old, and we need new faces and a new crop of talent. And both those professions I just talked about, coaching and officiating, need people, and the younger people are the ones that need to step up and put their foot in the ring, so to speak. Yeah, Guilford coming off back-to-back basketball championships, again, third year in a row being at the top of the division. They still got horses there, and that's the epitome of building a good program. Where it just recycles itself every year. You're never rebuilding. You're just moving forward. And to go back to your first question, I'm guaranteeing you, Coach Rick Akolinia, I know I pronounced your name wrong, Guilford, great coach, but he started somewhere. His first couple of years he didn't win, and that has to be the basis of it. You can't. If you're an aspiring new coach, you can't come in and just say, "Hey, we're going to win," and this and that. Trust, lots of trust has to be built up with your players and with each other.
Well, there you have it, everyone. That is our first conversation in our Division III edition, talking about the girls' standings, talking about the boys' standings. Up next, we'll have Coach Jesse Arsenault, the head coach, the varsity coach for the Berlin Middle High School Mountaineers. He's going to take some time with us and talk about his season, give us some perspectives on Division III, and share a little bit about what he thinks about coaching and what comes with coaching. So we'll be back in a minute or two with Coach Jesse Arsenault.
Just like you means when I walk into the bank, I feel like home. I feel like this is home.
It's a family. It's just small like me, but it's good like me.
Just like you, I know I have the support of the bank, and my clients have the support of the bank. And to me, that just has extreme value.
Covering you at home, at work, and at play, George M. Stevens Insurance is the only local agency to offer personal and commercial insurance, as well as health, life, and financial services. With offices throughout the North Country, we service your complete insurance needs. As a trusted choice insurance agency, we research coverage options from the nation's top companies to ensure that your policy works for you. George M. Stevens Insurance, protecting New Hampshire and Vermont since 1882.
Hi there, I'm Chuck Lloyd, president at White Mountains Community College, just talking to you a little bit about our college. We've been here since 1965. We've got 3 locations in Berlin, Littleton, and North Conway, and we're also online. We have a lot of technical programs, and we have a lot of online, remote, synchronous, asynchronous, whatever works best for your schedule. We are the only higher ed institution in New Hampshire above the notches. And what that means for us is we've got to be all things to all people. And we aim to try to do that by responding to workforce needs, industry and business, and partner locally with the needs of our communities. We could not be more excited to host new students coming in January.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Plume Stream Entertainment Network with Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. Right now, I have with me Coach Jesse Arsenault for the Berlin High School Mountaineers basketball boys team. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course, Matt and Brent. Thanks for having me.
Now, Coach, tell us a little bit about your season so far. I know that we had a nice conversation last year. You took some time to hang out over at the White Mountains game. I know developing that team, developing a group of men is important to you, building from the ground up. How are things going?
That's a great question. And, boy, from a basketball standpoint, it's actually been somewhat of a disappointing season. We lost 2 games by 2 and 1 game by 1, if I'm remembering correctly. So we're 2-5, and we could be 5-2. So that's hard to think about. Mm-hmm. So easier said than done to just move forward. So letting go of the past is a practice every day, this year anyway. But I would say, Matt, gosh, if it wasn't for all the battles won behind the scenes, it'd be kind of hard. And it's one of those years I've definitely had to remind myself, why am I actually in this? And it's because young men are worth investing in. They're tomorrow's fathers, they're tomorrow's businessmen, and tomorrow's leaders. So just tried extra hard to really connect with them relationally. They're incredible young men.
Now, Coach, I know some of those men on your team, and one of them is Jeremiah Dow, who actually volunteered to help me out in another capacity. You're just seeing much more mature, much more responsible, young men, like you said. And as a parent of a child that may be playing for you one day, I appreciate that. How does that work through? How does that work through for you, coaching a team, keeping people's spirits up, especially in those close losses, getting people excited and coming back?
Gosh, I sometimes try to tell them a story, that might relate to them. I remember being a sophomore, just totally freezing at the plate, playing baseball with bases loaded, a home playoff game, 8 seed versus 9 seed against Kona. I was a sophomore second baseman, and I totally froze in fear and watched 6 pitches go by after a full count. I watched strike 3 go down the middle. And I remember making a decision, I never want to feel like that again. And that was actually what spurred, my off-season work ethic for the rest of my life. It translated even into walking onto the UNH football team for a couple semesters. And I said, listen, I teach elementary school, and when they're mad, they either throw a fit and use it for selfishness, or they find a little bit of resiliency and they start a good habit. And I said, I don't know about you, but after this loss, I don't want to feel like this again. So let's get extra sharp tomorrow at practice so we can go home with a clean conscience knowing we're better than yesterday, and let's form a lifetime habit starting now.
That makes a lot of sense. Is your dad, is he still coaching the JV team and helping out?
He is. Right now, the third coach in our program had to focus more on his, graduate studies. So it's just Coach Dad and I. We have the kids call him Coach Dad on purpose, and me, Coach Jesse, just because, Coach Dad just emulates a father figure. Mm-hmm. And we want to view him like that. He's very stern, yet very gentle, and he's the guy you just feel safe around,
Yeah, I know your dad well. I like to see him out on that court, but I especially like to see him, working with kids and working with, young men like that, and a couple of great role models to have really in any capacity, but for your basketball team. I appreciate that.
Yeah, good man.
Hey, Coach, Brent here. I'm sure we have met along the way. I've been around for a long time. I was at White Mountains for a lot of years. Certainly know your dad. I know your older brother, or younger brother, maybe Jesse. Curtis.
Yeah, I got 3 younger brothers. They progressively get better looking and progressively get better at basketball. So I kind of got the short
end. Refereed a lot of games where your dad and Curtis played in as well, and your brother Levi. So I've been around. But I'm currently kind of in a similar situation as you over at Lisbon. I'm running 7th graders on my varsity team just for lack of numbers, and we're struggling to score. We don't really have a proven score, but I have the same philosophy as you, and we start at the ground and build up. So I kind of know your frustrations on some games, especially when you leave a game a point or two here, a point or two there, and you're losing by those points. But I found it easier. I was listening to you talk about losing and why you're doing this. Obviously, in the back of your mind, you know exactly why you're doing this. And I think a lot of times losing creates a lot better character in these student athletes than winning all the time.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And it's kind of working out where even the teams that we're favored against, we've lost those. And it's just reinforcing that truth that no one's going to hand you anything in life. You have to roll up your sleeves and you have to go get it,
Absolutely.
So, deep down it feels like a good lesson, but gosh, losing's just never fun,
I completely agree with that point. Moving forward, have you've seen a Belmont already, right, this year?
We have, yeah.
So you've seen a tougher team, and I see you have Guilford on your schedule, and you guys play up Division II, right? You play a Kennett team, right?
Yeah, we played Kennett twice, Division II, and they're pretty solid. And it's funny because we were, I think it was a 6-point game, and we hung with him the whole time. That was with two of our guys sitting 2 quarters because of foul trouble. So it's been that's been one of the frustrating parts is last year we were just flat out not all that good. So we go get our butts kicked, but we walked off the court, knowing we gave everything we had. And this year it feels like we're underplaying, and the consistency hasn't been there. And I think that's why it's been kind of hard to sleep at night sometimes.
Yeah, you're definitely going to find that as you continue to coach basketball, that the winter time is certainly a lack of sleep. No doubt about that. And you're going to keep replaying things through your head and plays and situations. And most of the time it's all about execution, and it's really not about the coach. But your kids will get it, and it sounds like you have a great demeanor with them, and moving forward, I'm sure you guys will get on a roll.
Yeah, I appreciate the encouragement. I feel like we can play with most teams in the state. I'm honest with the guys. I say I feel like, Guilford, St. Thomas, and Hopkinton, they're just on a different level. So we're gonna go out there and be who we are. But everyone else, it honestly feels like, including Belmont, we can hang with if we play well, and the style we aim for. But so I'm curious how much better we get by the end. I really am, and there's a lot to celebrate in the midst of the losing. And just real quick, I almost forgot to fully answer the question. Jeremiah Dow, I just want to give him a shout out because I didn't even know, he didn't tell anyone, but he's been volunteering at the rec center with little kids.
Yeah.
And I guess he's starting a formal 3rd through 6th grade camp in Berlin. So if there's any parents listening, I think it's every Saturday for like 4 weeks. So go to the Berlin Rec Department webpage or Facebook page. And the parents have noticed that Jeremiah commands a room without ever raising his voice. And, I hope he got some of that from me, because I just feel like whenever I do raise my voice, it's for the sake of, purpose, not for the sake of punishment. If I'm really upset or disappointed, I actually speak lower, because I feel like people listen more intently when you speak low and sincere instead of just really loud. People tend to tune you out. You don't have to, throw a fit as a leader or a coach if things aren't going well. And Jer's really caught that, I feel. He's going to be a great man.
Coach, I've known Jeremiah since he was probably 5 years old, and I've known him throughout the years. And I recently ran into him, thankfully not literally, because I would hurt. He's a big, strong kid, and he had done a kind of an informal basketball training, and my son's in 5th grade, and looking forward to progressing on his season. You see it in Jeremiah. He's volunteering. He's helping me with another program. He's at the rec department. He's surrounding himself with with young boys and working with them and having some fun with them and teaching them the game. He's also having a pretty decent season from what I can gather.
Yeah, he came out just a man on fire. I think after 3 games, and those were 3 good teams, and he's considered our only full, I don't know the words, but I guess full-rounded scorer, where he's got a mid-range game, post-game, 3-point shot, off the dribble. He's the only full, package guy. So a lot of teams double him in game plan against him, and yet he still averaged 21.5 points after 4 games, which is very hard to do. And I think now he's around the 18 a game range, which is still extremely high. It's only a 32-minute game.
Coach,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, as you look at your program and, you're thinking about what next season will look like in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, for people like me, where I have a young son who's learning, how to be, but he's also learning how to be a basketball player. Thoughts on how that should look? Do you plan on being more involved in the younger ages, or you two? I know that you have a family of your own, but any thoughts or words of wisdom for a kid like mine, or somebody that's learning how to play and slowly getting up to that point where they can play for you?
Wow. Well, that's a great question. And I think I'll actually start, if you don't mind, with something to say to parents and coaches.
Sure.
we just watched a motivational video on Kobe Bryant. Like, it's amazing. I had no idea his greatness off the court. I had no idea his work ethic or his off-season strategy until these videos come out after his death. And he told a story in one of these interviews, how when he was 11 years old, which I believe is most fifth graders, he scored 0 points an entire summer. He played in a summer league. He didn't even get one lucky basket, not one free throw, not one fast break. And he went home, and all he did, and he just cried. And his daddy picked him up and said, Kobe, he said, I love you whether you score 0 points or if you score 60. And Kobe said at that moment, he said something inside of him felt free to fail. And I think a lot of us have these big dreams, but we're afraid to just go for it and take a huge risk because failure would kill us. Because the sport or the entrepreneurship's our identity, but we need to know our sport is not our identity as much as we love it. So Kobe realized, I'm just going to go for it. And if I stink at basketball, then so be it. I'm free to fail because somebody loves me. But he's like, but I want to score 60. And he went for it. And, of course, he scored a whole lot of points his whole life, no matter what league he played in. But as a coach, you should emanate on a day-to-day basis that you deeply care about the athlete, no matter how they perform, whatever way you can communicate that message. And then, of course, as a parent, that really make it intentional that they know they are loved and it's not connected to performance at all. And then if you see that there's a liking for the game, then, of course, do everything you can to encourage and invest. And as a kid, know that early. It's not your identity, and somebody really loves you and really cares about you. And if there's something else you end up falling for, then let's go all in for that. Let's go all in for guitar. Let's go all in for baseball. Let's figure it out. But we're not going to go half-hearted into any part of life. And I think that's some great messages kids need to hear and live by, and have parents and coaches hold them accountable.
Coach, Brent here again. That's great to hear you say. My son actually plays for the White Mountains team. And I had that conversation with him after he played against you guys. He came home. He was frustrated. He's only a sophomore. He's starting with those juniors at White Mountains. And he came home frustrated. He didn't score a lot. He hit 1 3 against you guys. And, I reiterated the fact to him that they put him on Dow for all of the second half. And I thought he did a great job. Jeremiah didn't have his best scoring night that night over at your place. But, I'm pumping him up that defensively, man, that's what you're there for. You're not there to score. You've got those other kids there to score. You don't need to score. Your job is to defend and do it well. And be the guy that is going to be that defender so they can't not put you in the game. That was nice to hear you say that. And, he comes home a lot frustrated like that. And, again, it's reiterating, as a parent, me being a coach, obviously I know the rules around that, but you don't blame the coaches. You don't ever say that their philosophy is wrong. You stick with what they're doing. And you pump up your own son or daughter in that particular way. I think so many parents negatively affect their children's play by complaining about this or that or the coach. And it's not always going to be sunshines and roses. You're going to lose, and you're going to have a bad day. And I work in a school, and it's the same thing with a student. If they fear failure, it's going to be a rough go of it for them. And a lot of times, I work with kids that have behaviors, and a lot of those behaviors are built around the fear of failure.
Wow. It's so true. I noticed. I noticed with young ladies, with women too, they feel like they're never enough. But with men, they are fear of failure is the main stopper of their destiny.
Absolutely.
And so whatever, with this generation of men, I feel like every mentor, every teacher, every coach should be communicating, hey, there's nothing to fear. You're free to fail, and you're also free to succeed. Go for this thing, man.
Absolutely. And to reiterate another fact you had said about screaming and yelling, I mean, I've been around a long time, and that's the way I was taught to coach. and it's taken me years to completely reverse that. Now the loudest I get is I'm yelling out plays, but never yell at the athlete. And we've got different athletes than probably even you were when you were in school. I mean, certainly different athletes from when I was in school in the mid '90s. We were taught to take that criticism, that constructive criticism, if you may, and use it for fuel. And people now, when I was transitioning over from that type of coach to the type of coach I am now, I've gotten a lot more out of players by not screaming and yelling and demanding. Obviously, we're coaches. We're going to demand, but you have to figure out different ways to get to each player. I think back in the day, it was a roundabout. This is who I am. This is what I'm going to be, and you coach each player the same. And obviously, that's you can't do that and be successful.
Yeah, it's true. And, I was raised in, I did the military thing. So I, screamed at in boot camp and, grew up with, similar generation of coaches, not all of them, but a lot of them. And yeah, we always took it good. But yeah, it's comforting knowing that honestly, the controlled, honest tone of voice produces a lot more fruit, I've noticed, than the other way. And during workouts and things, when we're privately in a gym, I'm screaming like I'm in a full-out battle at war, right? So I'm super loud. I lose my voice. But in public settings, I never want to scream unless it's for a play, like you said, because there's just no reason. Because publicly, I wouldn't want to be disrespected just because somebody's older than me.
Right, and
so yeah, we all learn these things, and that's so cool that you adapted as a coach. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if I love coaching, and if you can't be one way, you've got to adapt or get done, and move on with it. But also working in the school and working with different kids and seeing the student athletes of today versus back in the day or whenever. There's a huge change in athletes. There's a huge change in parents, the way they parent their athletes. If I use this example all the time, there was a time I think when I was a sophomore, and I wasn't getting much playing time on the varsity, and I'd go home and my dad would ask me, the first question out of his mouth is, "Did you backtalk the coach? Did you do something to the coach? Did you not hustle in practice? Did you not work hard enough?" Nowadays you go home and the parents are going to say, "Well, that coach isn't a very good coach," and that's the statement you're going to hear, and then that translates to the athlete, and the athlete comes back to practice with a negative attitude towards the coach.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It's so true. That was the biggest, cost I had to count before coaching, because unfortunately the quality of family life and the conviction of the general public, and the general moral compass of the public right now, no judgment, it seems to be pretty obviously lower. And honor and respect, I teach the kids honor even when you disagree.
Absolutely.
I say I was in the Army, no matter what president I voted for, I wanted to always be able to say with a clean conscience I would bleed for them, So honor is a lost fruit in this culture. And I think we can bring it back. And the way I kind of handle the parent thing is I'll meet with the student one-on-one, and I'll just be like, I sense kind of your parents' perspective is this. Is that true? Usually it's a yes. I'm be like, I just want to say my perspective is a little different. This is how I see this situation. And I'm not asking you to agree with your mom or agree with me. I'm just saying, while you're at practice, I got to do my best to lead this team right. So if you could just respect the direction here, and do your best to respect your parent when you get home. I know sometimes you might feel stuck between, but I just want the best for you. And when you coach your father someday, just do your best. And I want you to be good at it, And I also say you are free to disagree with me, but you're not free to not respect the decisions I make, because we all got to be going in the same direction to work
Absolutely.
together. So I usually wait for the stress to die down and have those one-on-one talks, because when people are stressed, they can't even reason, you know.
Absolutely.
Well, Coach, as a parent, again, as a parent of a fifth grader that will soon be playing for you, I know I speak on behalf of myself and his team right now. We're all looking forward to getting that opportunity to play for your team, either it be JV or varsity. And as a parent, I'm looking forward to my son learning more than just basketball, but learning how to be. So I appreciate that, and I'll happily speak on behalf of that team. That probably when they get to that age will need some of that support. So thank you for sharing those perspectives.
Thank you so much. And just a thought too, as someone who's a parent and a coach, I've only been in this program 15 months, and I have a long-term vision. And one of them is I want to help all the elementary level and young coaches kind of start to build a system with me. So encourage anyone you know who's coaching in the game of basketball to contact me. I've already reached out to some, and I'm more than happy to come in and, work. And I don't want to tell them what to do, but, if they're open to it, empower them to build in the direction we're building at the highest level. And that's what I want to do, the ground up, elementary school through varsity. We're all saying the same thing and with the same vision for the most part. And if you know any good men and women who are interested in coaching, tell them to come see me. And I can, get them started, even if they don't have a big background in basketball, because coaches are really hard to find right now.
Thank you, Coach. I know you're busy. I know you're playing Gorham tonight, so we'll let you go. But thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule and from your family and from your team. I can't thank you enough. You've done. I was going to say you've done this twice, but we've had two good conversations. And the second that you said, you know what, Matt, I'm going to take some time, I knew it would be heartfelt. I knew it would be real, and I knew it would be genuine. And that's exactly what we got, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. Well, Matt and Brent, I really enjoyed my time today. I think it was fruitful, and give the listeners my best. It's really cool what you're doing for sports culture, and thanks for being great parents and coaches and community leaders. It's so awesome to see this going on.
All right, well, there you have it. Head coach and leader Jesse Arsenault for the Berlin High School Mountaineers boys team. Jesse, thanks again.
Thanks, Coach.
And next up from the alley, we'll have Brent Coble with Coach Chris Foss from White Mountains Regional High School girls varsity team. We'll be back in a minute or two. You won't want to miss this.
What motivates us at Casella?
I want to help our customers recycle as much as possible.
Because I care about the environment and how our company impacts our towns.
And at Casella Organics, we find new uses for all sorts of materials.
It's hard work.
But I'm helping people every day.
And that makes me feel like part of the community.
A community I care about. So I do everything I can to sustain the resources of our environment.
Casella, serving New Hampshire and part of your community.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Plume Stream Entertainment Network. This is Sports Talk with Matt and Brent, Matt Buto and Brent Coble. A special thank you to Coach Jesse Arsenault from the Berlin High School Mountaineers. Always willing to have a conversation, always willing to speak from the heart with intent, and growing a program over in Berlin that I'm excited to see not only as a referee, as an official, as a person who works for Plume, but as a parent of a fifth grader who will be playing for him soon. So again, special thanks to Jesse. He wanted us to make sure to give a shout out there for Berlin residents. It sounds like the rec department, Jeremiah Dow, is putting together a little program. Again, another example of the men that he's developing over there. So can't say enough about Jesse. But we're back, and we have actually a special feature here today for the first time ever on Flu Media. We've invited Coach Chris Foss, the head coach for the girls' White Mountains Regional high school basketball team. And in a second here, I'm going to send it over to Brent, who is over in the alley, the alley that we've determined that was the best name for it. Again, brand new, excited to have you. Brent, over to you, and make history.
All right, Matt, thanks. Great to be here in the alleys of Lancaster, New Hampshire. New segment for us here. I'm here today with Coach Chris Foss, as Matt said, of White Mountains Regional High School. He is the girls' varsity coach. Coach, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's nice to be here.
We certainly do appreciate you coming and giving us a little bit of your time. You know, it's a busy schedule in the winter. And,
sure.
And I know you personally. I know you've got 3 kids, and you coach, and that's difficult. You're everywhere all the time, and getting to everything is tough. So we do appreciate and value your time.
Happy to do it. No problem at all. Thank you.
First thing I want to touch on, Coach, is how your season's been going so far, sure. And kind of your philosophy and your background in coaching.
Sure. Season currently started off strong. Had a good first win against Belmont at home. Hit the road for 3 after that. A couple tough ones there. Went to Littleton. Lost by a point, went up to Colebrook, lost by a couple. Both those down in those particular games, had fourth quarter leads late in the game with opportunities, to seal a deal, and unfortunately just couldn't do that. And a tough one down in Newfound there. We started very slow, and our comeback there was a little, too late. Mm-hmm. Took us into the winter break. Started off with another good win at home against Berlin. It was nice to get the W there. And then we had a tough one on the road. Guilford gave us an opportunity to see, one of those top teams in the division, what it looks like, on the big floor down there, and to see his philosophy of everything's a fast break, and really more for our girls too, what one of those top teams in the state really looks like, and where a nice goal where to be. To kind of give everything in perspective there.
Sure.
And just had a tough one. Groveton was a good game at home the other day. Unfortunately, came on the losing end. Good game, 1-point game, at halftime. And Groveton came out, hit a couple quick ones right in the start of the third quarter. And again, our comeback there was a little too late. But happy with the girls overall season-wise. They're working hard. They especially kind of hit that reset button after the break, and kind of went over, I call them a couple, housekeeping, items there, and some goals that we need to kind of short-term goals we need to focus
sure.
on and get going again. But so that's where we are kind of in a nutshell right now as far as season-wise goes. And then from there, we travel to Interlakes this Friday night, and hit the road down there, and hopefully if we continue to work hard and work on some of our small mistakes, I hope to get back on the W side.
Good. A couple of those gyms you just mentioned, I don't think a lot of people realize this. Obviously, people up in the North Country do, but, you're going from being a Division III school, playing some of these Division IV teams. You're going from a Colebrook, which is, a tiny gym,
sure,
Colonel
sure.
Town size,
sure.
to a full NCAA size court at Guilford.
Sure.
Quite a difference. It's tough to play in Colebrook. No matter who you are and no matter how good your team is.
Sure.
It's tough to move the ball. It's tough to pass the ball.
It is. It can be.
It's tough to breathe in there sometimes.
Yeah, they're on top of you.
It is. People really don't understand that. And, Matt and I talk a lot about, losing a game here and there. And those are the games that make a difference in the playoff standings, whether you're home or away. And nobody, and thankfully you don't have to worry about this, but nobody in the world wants to go to Colebrook and play a game.
Well, that's just it. And one of the points you just mentioned is some of those early games, some of those early wins, make a difference, late in the season.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're going to hover, if you're going to, be there, you want to at least maybe get an equal level record there, so you're kind of maybe middle of the pack. But when you lose a couple early ones, and it's sometimes you got to work that much harder, to get back over the hump to get to where you want to be, and it makes it a little uphill battle. But like anything, I'm hoping that if we can continue to find our stride and play our best basketball moving forward, this Friday will mark the halfway point. So we're not quite even at the halfway point yet. So I think if we find the stride, get going, playing some good basketball, we'll be hopefully strong going to the playoffs.
Yeah, and excuse me. Another thing I was just talking to Matt about is you don't want to be playing your best basketball in November, December.
Right.
You want to build up to that, and you want to be playing your best basketball on game 16 for Division III this year, or game 18.
Sure.
And moving in, as I was saying earlier, it's 4 wins. Your marathon is over, so to speak, of your season, and then you got 4 games.
Right, that's
you just got to win 4 games.
That's right,
and that's the sprint at the end of the season.
Most definitely. It's been a thing there where I'm happy, talent-wise. What we have, I think we have a lot to offer. It's just a matter really for us, cleaning up some of the smaller things.
Sure.
That if you got one girl that makes a small mistake, another girl makes a different small mistake. Of course, as you know, those add up to bigger ones. So I think if we can fine tune some of that, which we really kind of refocused on this last couple of days on, and I think if we find that stride, I hope to be playing our best basketball moving forward, and I know our girls are capable of doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know me well. Obviously, you coached with me at White Mountains. I'm a basketball connoisseur, especially girls. And in this year, it's watching a lot of games as I do, and even being at some games live. This year, there is a lot more unforced turnovers in every single girls' basketball game than any year I can ever remember. And obviously that's frustrating for you. That's frustrating for me.
Sure.
It's frustrating for any coach. But those are the things I think you're speaking of cleaning up and housekeeping kind of stuff.
That's right. Yeah, we talk a lot as a team about taking care of a basketball, and that could be on anything, as you know. Running a fast break, an outlet pass, looking weak side, anything that we're talking about, is just a matter of taking care of the basketball collectively as a team in any situation, And I think if really we start with that, again, any girl, any position, doesn't matter. I think if we can do that, like any team, like you mentioned, it's I think that'll help us get to where we need to be going forward.
Sure. So I know you guys got Interlakes tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Any other teams that you may see this year that are at the top of the division?
Yeah, what's a good one there is so we'll go to Interlakes. Littleton will travel to us for home game Tuesday, and then we'll travel to Prospect.
There you go.
They're up there.
Yeah.
The following, I believe, Friday, Winnisquam comes to us. So we have some good top tier teams that record-wise right now that we'll seek here in the near future, and then.
Speaking of Winnisquam, and I know you know the coach.
Yes.
I've known him for quite a lot of years now. Really great guy.
Most definitely.
And he's the type of guy like you and I, and like Coach Jesse Arsenal, who builds programs from the bottom up. Sure. And he's done an absolute great job since he's taken over for the Winnisquam program.
Most definitely. Yeah, he's had a lot of buy-in, early on, with the freshmen. I think now they're juniors, seniors, and it's paying off for him. And like you said, he's a top-notch guy. Girls are buying in, and he's getting the results that he's looking for.
Absolutely. We were talking before about the difference in coaching philosophies and how you coach. Is when I started as a coach, I pretty much emulated the people that taught me, people I grew up around, and I've adapted to not be that type of coach anymore, the yeller, the screamer.
Sure.
It's today's athletes are different than we were, per se.
That's fair to say.
And today's parents are a lot different than parents were back in the day.
Yeah, most definitely. No, it's a valid point. One of your first questions you asked I didn't touch on was a background in coaching, and it kind of alludes to that. I guess it'll be this year 13, at the regional, starting off, doing the baseball there. And like you said, starting off and a young coach, and like you think, back to some of your younger ones of kind of not they're the holler and the screamer, they're on you pretty good. So you try to do that, and that's not really you. It's not really your style. You got to try to figure out what's working and what's not working. And like you said, and now in today's shifting from boys, the baseball to the girls basketball, completely different element in itself.
Absolutely.
And then, but it's with that though, it's I find that they're very, you can talk to them, and I don't feel like, not like the boys don't, but because they do. They're all respectful kids, and I feel like that it's good. They listen. I feel like there's good buy-in there, and like anything else, it's changed as well. Like you mentioned, with parents, communication's huge.
Absolutely.
Communication's huge. Technology helps with that, a little bit there as far as, I remember used to get a piece of paper and here's your practice schedule and that's
Sure.
what it is. But now with the coaching apps that we use and the team apps that we use, it's ever changing, everything there. And parents are on there and kids are on there, grandparents are on there.
Sure.
And it's really a team and a family effort to make sure everybody's where they need to be for what practice or what game. And there's a lot more communication.
Yeah.
Than there ever has been before. And that's not a bad thing.
No,
not a bad thing. And so it's I think that's important for everybody to be on the same page, between coach, between player, between parent, and making sure we're good at that. And like I said, that technology certainly helps now more than ever has in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've touched on this before. It's the athletes. We just said they're different. And back in the day, you used to be able to coach the team. And now you more coach an athlete, and everything's individualized until it comes to the team unity as a whole.
Sure.
When you're talking team, I used to, back in the day, we would single people out if they were having rough games.
Sure.
And now it's all we.
That's right.
We need to be better. We need to do this better. We need to do that better. And it's not you.
That's a very good point. It's important for us as coaches, all to have that, individual rapport, with that student athlete, and then while still building on your team concept.
Absolutely.
And that's the biggest thing. And what's going on different in our house, yours and mine, everybody else's is different than the next person's over. So trying to figure out, make sure everything's good, to get the right frame of mind, to play competitive,
Sure.
basketball, giving your best day in, day out at practice, at games. It's a little bit different, what makes people, what works for some doesn't work for others, and it's a matter of getting that, understanding that athlete to get the most out of them while they're getting the most out of what they're capable of doing as well too.
Just to piggyback that, it's to me, it's a lot about trust, and it's about becoming friends, not the friend dynamic you would see in the school.
Yes.
But you want to get to know each and every one of your players. You want them to be able to trust you. You want to be able to trust them.
That's right.
And that's the things, that's to go out to coach, anyone wanting to get into the coaching profession, buy into your players.
Sure.
Get to know what they do. Get to know what they like. You're going to gain a lot more from having that knowledge and being able to utilize that,
That's just it, most definitely. I think it's important for us, as much as they listen to us, we have to listen as well too, to fully understand, what's taking place there and what's going on. Yeah, maybe you had a bad day at school, maybe you didn't do well on a test, maybe take your pick, it doesn't matter. But it's important for us for them to communicate what's going on, and that way we can, before we get after them a little too hard, we have a little bit idea of what's taking place here. And like I said, we want the best for them, as always. And like I said, I think they want the best for themselves as well too. So if we can continue to have good communication, I think that's a big key.
And that comes back twofold, and you'll get this in some years to come. But I still have players that contact me all the time about different things. They need help with this and need help with that.
Sure.
Even if they need help moving into their first house.
Sure.
We've done that before.
Yep.
It's great. And me personally, once you play for me, you're part of my family.
Sure.
There's a reason I chose to coach girls. One of those reasons is I don't have any girls of my own, and it keeps me away from my sons and let them do their own thing. But it's relationships. You got to build relationships, more so with girls, but I think it's probably the same. But girls have obviously different needs than boys, and there could be a lot more going on in a girl's head than a boy's. I think 99% of what's going on in a boy's head is probably a girl.
Yeah.
And I don't think girls are the same way.
I think that's fair to say. So some of the conversations during practice at the end, they're concerned about what's for dinner and what they're going to watch on Netflix at night and whatnot. So it's always a different dynamic there, leaving practice at times where their heads are at.
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, I thank you for being here today.
Certainly.
I don't want to keep you any longer.
Nope.
I know you got practice to
Yep,
go to.
certainly. No, it's all good.
But we here at Flume Media certainly appreciate your time, and hopefully near the end of the season we'll get you on here for a playoff, one of our playoff editions.
Great.
And moving forward, we wish you nothing but luck, and go get them.
Very good. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me. Very good. Thank you.
All right, Matt, back to you, sir.
There you have it, Coach Chris Foss, the head coach of the girls varsity team at White Mountains Regional High School. Coach, thank you for coming. Thank you for joining us. Every time I send out an email or we have a conversation, you share as much as you possibly can. We appreciate that. Thank you for joining us for the very first time in the alley. Another element that we're adding to our show, and couldn't be any better than having the local coach here and White Mountains Regional. So thanks again,
Happy to be here.
Coach
Thank
Foss.
you very much.
When we come back, Brent and I are going to finish up and wrap up this Division III edition, share a few more thoughts, talk about what our schedule is going to look like. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
We at COAS Advisors feel it's important to stay connected to the community to have the greatest impact with the people around us.
Many of us here at COAS Advisors grew up in the area. Actually, most of us did, and so we're all very connected. I mean, ultimately, everything we do is about helping people achieve their goals.
It's true. I think community is connecting to the people around us in a way that moves everybody forward. Everybody wants to make the North Country a better place.
It's a perfect day.
Hi!
Why is there a bank in the woods?
We try to be wherever our customers need us. All your banking needs here for you. Wherever you are in life, we want you to start your adventure with the Sumsic Bank. That's why there's a bank in the woods.
Huh. Wait, isn't that?
Oh, great customer. Keeps a low profile.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Plume Stream Entertainment Network for Sports Talk with Matt and Brent. Again, I'm Matt Buto. This is Brent Coble. Special thanks to White Mountains Regional coach, head coach for varsity girls team, Chris Foss, who Brent was the first coach that we interviewed in our new alley. How was that?
Yeah, I really enjoy the alley. I could get warmed up to that very easily.
Good.
Great alley.
You know, one thing I'll say about today, and we've talked about this, you and I have talked about this, especially with our production crew, is the two interviews that were different today were that they talked about, you know, the programs and building the programs and personalities and raising good, you know, solid adults, perhaps coaching a different player, coaching a different player with different parents, and also having to readjust and transition your own coaching style for it to be more effective for
Sure.
what some of these differences are.
Sure, Matt. You know, it's you got to coach the individuals now, and you know, as we said, as I was talking with Coach Foss, it's a different athlete, and you've got to adapt, or you don't do it. You know, get out of coaching if you don't want to adapt and move on with the times.
So again, from the alley, our new alley, Chris Foss and Brent Coble. Special thanks to Coach Arsenal. Special thanks to Coach Foss for joining us. Now I want to talk Moneyball. Race to $1,000, Brent. Looks like we're almost over halfway there.
Sure, Matt. This Moneyball thing is certainly picked up on its own. Lots of sponsors willing to jump in on this. Great way to get your business named and we have a lot of fun with the Moneyball. Currently, Moneyball's sitting at $520 after what game 8 or 9 games. We're looking at upper 20s, maybe 30 games this season, you know, including playoffs. So I think we're going to break that $1,000 mark for the adaptive sports of the North Country, where all the Moneyball money goes. Recently, we've had Alberitos, Kaze Dojo. Just this week, we had Wicked Cornhole out of Tewksbury, Mass. Tomorrow's sponsor at the Littleton Epping game, or not tomorrow, but at the Littleton Epping game, is Travis Lewis. On the 20th, we go to Campbell. We've got AJ's Sports Bar and Grill. All these places, different places across the state, willing to step up and put their money in for Moneyball, and really overall step up and help out the adaptive sports partners of the North Country. And as I said, moving forward, Friday the 20th, we've got the D3 boys action. We've got 6-2 Campbell hosting 5-2 Belmont, Matt. Unfortunately, you and I won't be down there for that game. That'll be Sean and Josh, two of our partners that do a great job. But I would really like to be down there. That seems like it's going to be a heck of a game.
It does.
And then Monday, the 23rd of January, we're back to Linwood as Linwood hosts Groveton. And two of our newer guys on the call will be Greg and Bill. So looking forward to that. We've got a lot more games on the slate for later in the season. And we've got a lot more sports talks coming up. This was our third show this winter. As always, Matt, we have fun, and
we do.
We do a lot of behind the scenes work with coaches and getting coaches here, and the coaches have really liked it, and I think it's gonna blossom out for Flume Media.
Good stuff. Again, race to $1,000. We're halfway there. As you were talking, I was thinking, geez, we celebrated. I think we were at 600 or close to 600 after the full season last year. Really great stuff happening with Moneyball. Race to $1,000. I'm sure it's going to go over probably more than that, and we couldn't do it without those sponsors: Alberitos, Kaze Dojo, Wicked Cornhole, Travis Lewis, AJ Sport Bar and Grill. And if any listeners out there want to jump in on that, please do. It all goes toward the adaptive sports program over in Franconia, New Hampshire. Games January 20th, January 23rd. We had a double header. Got Sean and Josh, who we listened to the other night, did a great job. Then we have Greg and Bill. So thanks for recapping all of that for us.
Yeah,
thanks.
Matt, before excuse me for interrupting.
No, I interrupt away.
Before we move on, I just want to say if there is any businesses out there listening, anyone that knows Matt or I personally, you're welcome to get in touch with us. You can also go on the Flume Stream website, flumestream.com, and there's ways that you can get your donations in there as well. So many different ways. If you're interested, let us know, and we'll certainly get you out there, your name out there.
All right. Well, everything you see here today is brought to you by an outstanding production team. We have Zach and Chad behind the scenes putting all the work together. Special thanks to them who are bringing us this outstanding setup here and bringing us the new Lancaster Alley. But again, for Brent Coble, again, another show with us, you and I together. My name's Matt Buetow. That's Sports Talk. We're looking forward to coming back to talk more about basketball. We'll see you later in the season.